I took it quite personally because I would smile at somebody on the street and they would blatantly just frown at me or just look at me like I was crazy.
It's the Germany Experience, the podcast about life in Germany as seen through the eyes of outsiders. I'm your host, Sean, and new episodes in your podcast feed every week, so subscribe to the show wherever you listen to podcasts. You can also listen to episodes on thegermanyexperience.de, and you can get in touch with me there and much, much more. And while you're there on my website, sign up for my monthly newsletter. In it, I write some musings and ponderings about life in Germany, and I also go over some of the podcast highlights of the past month. So sign up. My guest this week is YouTuber Antoinette Emily, and we'll get to her in just a bit. But first, I want to remind you that German Uncovered, a German story-based language course, is heavily discounted right now for Black Friday. You get $200 discount off the course price, plus access to 2 bonuses, the German Grammar for Beginners course and the German Accent and Pronunciation Masterclass. This special runs until the 30th of November, so you need to sign up this week if you're thinking about it. And if you're wondering about the story-based learning and the course, here's Kirsten, one of the course's creators, going over some of the benefits of story-based learning.
I guess what this course does really well and what story-based learning does really well is keeps you interested beyond a little dialogue in a textbook. The way the story incorporates in German Uncovered is we've got 20 chapters and you kind of follow your characters. So you don't think so much about, learning, right? It's more about actually using the language. As the chapters progress, we get a little bit more complex, a little bit more complicated in the language, but we don't baby our readers. It gives you as the learner a lot of freedom to explore and figure things out before I come in and explain them.
So use the links in my show notes and sign up for the course while it is discounted. The code and the links are in the show notes. And I am, of course, an affiliate partner of Fluent Language. So if you sign up with my links, you're helping the show. Now, my guest this week, you probably know her from her YouTube channel. She's Antoinette Emily. She is from a coastal wine region of New Zealand called Hawke's Bay, and she married a Polish German, and that is how she ended up in Germany around about 10 years ago. She has 2 children who are 7 and 4, and there's one coming in January of 2021. We discuss the story of how she came to Germany, the importance of having international friends in Germany, raising children as bilinguals, why you probably shouldn't build a house in Germany, and, of course, her YouTube channel. Here's Antoinette Emily.
So I came to Germany by accident. I met my husband, not even boyfriend at the time. We met in New Zealand. He was backpacking for a year around New Zealand, actually. A lot of Germans take a year off and they do a work and travel year.
Right.
And he was backpacking with a couple of his German friends. And it was basically just a year off for him. He just wanted to sort of find himself and I guess just have a year of being free, and he had no commitments and he thought, why not? So that's what he did. And at the time I had just returned from living in Melbourne, Australia, and I came back to New Zealand to finish off some studies that I had started but not finished. And so I completed my bachelor's degree in visual arts and design, and then I went on to do my postgraduate diploma in teaching. And so I was super busy at the time, not really time. I didn't have much time for socializing or anything like that. But a friend of mine convinced me to go out one night to a local bar for a couple of drinks. And I thought, why not? Actually, it took a lot of convincing. I almost didn't go out that night. And then I got to the bar and I noticed a very tall, dark, handsome, foreign-looking man.
Oh, hello.
Who was like kind of staring at me, which is kind of ironic now because German men are known to stare. And I thought, okay, I don't know, there was something about him. And I knew he was foreign. I don't know, I can't tell you why. And I heard him speaking a different language with a group of guys later on in the evening, and I didn't even know what the language was. Yeah. So that's how much I knew about Germany. And so after a couple of drinks, he didn't want to talk to me, but I went up to get a drink, and he actually introduced himself, said, "Hi, I am Robert." And it was really awkward, really nervous. And yeah, he asked if I wanted a drink, and we got talking. And I said, "Where are you from?" And he said, "I am from Germany," with a very strong German accent. But I was surprised. German, okay. Didn't know a lot about Germany. And we got talking. I thought he was a lovely guy. And at the end of the night, he asked for my number and said, "Can I call you? I want to see you again." And I thought, okay, why not? And I didn't really expect to hear back from him. And then the next day he called me back. He called me, and he was extremely nervous. His English wasn't very good at all at the time. Has since improved. But yes, it was quite an awkward conversation. He couldn't really string a sentence together very well, but I thought, I'm going to give him a chance. Why not?
Right.
So he took me out for dinner the next evening, and I thought he was lovely.
Okay.
And we just slowly got to know each other, and we were just really drawn to each other for some reason. And it didn't matter, like the language barrier, it didn't seem to matter. We met sort of towards the beginning of his stay in New Zealand, and over the course of that year, we just got to know each other, and we formed a relationship, and it was nothing serious. But it got to the end of the year, and he had to go back to Germany because his visa had run out.
Right.
And he was only allowed to stay in New Zealand for 1 year. And we were like, what are we going to do? We have to be apart. And he said to me that he wanted to stay in New Zealand. He had fallen in love with New Zealand. He was on this big New Zealand buzz, and he wanted to live in New Zealand. And we tried to extend his visa, but that did not work. They're very, very tough, New Zealand immigration. We spent a little bit of money trying to get him to stay a bit longer, and applied for different visas, and they rejected all of them. So it was like, no, he's going back to Germany. We're going to have to break up. And then I came up with the idea to follow him to Germany. I was finished with my studies, had a little bit of free time, and I thought, why not? Why not go with him for 3 months and just check it out?
Yeah.
And if all else fails, if things don't work out with us, I get to see a bit of Europe. I'd never been to Europe before.
Okay.
Only traveled as far as the United States. And I thought, I've got nothing really to lose. My family really liked him. And my mum actually really encouraged me to go. She thought it would be a great experience. And I think you never really know somebody until you sort of see them in their natural environment.
Yeah.
So I thought, he's seen me in my life, my daily life, and my natural environment. Now it's my turn to see what he's all about. Yeah. So it was in New Zealand the summer of 2009, and I was entering into winter in Germany. And so I traveled over to Germany with him. And it was absolutely freezing. I remember getting off the plane. I'd never felt anything quite like it. Never seen snow in my life. It was snowing. There are areas of New Zealand that have snow, but not the area I'm from.
Yeah.
And it was really surreal. And I met his parents, and his sister were there to pick me up at the airport. I was very, very... I was exhausted. I had severe jet lag. It was a very, very long trip.
Yeah, it's a long trip to get from that part of the world to Germany. It's like sometimes 24 hours to 30 hours or something.
Yeah, it's pretty rough. It's pretty rough, the trip.
Yeah.
So that was a bit of a shock for me. I knew no German, by the way. So it was all kind of like a spontaneous plan to go to Germany. So Rob taught me a few phrases on the airplane, and I think I'd forgotten them. And it was quite daunting because his family, they speak Polish at home. Oh. So he speaks with his mum and dad in Polish, and his sister is 100% deaf. So I could not communicate with any of them. But they were just wonderful. His parents just welcomed me with open arms. They had this big, beautiful spread of food, and everything was laid out beautifully. And his mum had bought me this beautiful winter coat, and just they were really just so welcoming and so wonderful. And I guess the moment that I thought, wow, like I'm so pleased I did this, was when I saw the way that he interacted with his deaf sister. And for me, that sealed the deal for me. The
clincher.
Because yes, he was it was just so wonderful to watch, because he doesn't speak the official sign language.
Okay.
But they made up a language when they were kids. Oh. And so they can communicate with each other really well, and it's kind of hilarious. And yeah, it's just, you have to see it to kind of know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But he's just so patient and so sweet with his sister. And for me, like that was something that meant a lot to me to see that.
Yeah.
And so I thought, oh my goodness, like, yeah, I wouldn't have known this if I hadn't have seen this for myself.
Yeah.
And yeah, it just proved to me that he was, a great guy. And yeah, so that's basically my story of how I came to Germany.
Yeah. So that's pretty amazing, because it sounds like the story would have been completely different if he was able to get a visa, because the plan was to be in New Zealand. Absolutely, yeah. Wow. It's like that movie Sliding Doors, you know. So with the two paths.
Exactly. Yeah. So it all happened by accident.
Amazing. So you came over for, you said the plan was 3 months, and when you were there, you realized pretty early on that you probably want to be there for good.
Well, not initially. I just knew that I didn't want to be apart from him. Yeah. That was all we were thinking about.
Okay.
We were just like, we just want to do everything to stay together, basically. We weren't thinking of anything in the future, or we just wanted to be together. Yeah. And so I was 24, he was 23, and we were very impulsive, I guess you could say. And we knew that after the 3 months I would have to go back to New Zealand. He couldn't enter into New Zealand again for I don't know how long. And we decided to try and extend my visa so I could stay just a bit longer and just extend my time there and so we could have a bit more time together. And we tried all these different options, but I was rejected. I was the same as Rob. It's in Germany. It's not easy to just stay longer. And then that was when we just decided, let's get married. Let's get engaged.
How long had you been together at that point?
We'd known each other for about a year.
Okay.
Yeah,
long enough to know.
Crazy, absolutely crazy. Looking back, but we didn't think it was crazy. We were just like we want to be together.
It just made sense.
We were just So we got engaged. I think all of our families were pretty shocked, but they supported us. And then we we found out that I could actually apply for a working holiday visa. So there's kind of like an exchange program between Germany and New Zealand. So I could stay in Germany for a year and like work for a year in Germany. And so we were like, okay, well, that's going to give us a bit more time, but we still want to get married. Yeah. Because what happens after that year? Right. And so, we got married and
there you are.
Yeah.
Wow, that is an amazing whirlwind story. So when you were getting to know Germany a bit, what were your first impressions of it? Was it something like you thought, this is completely foreign to me and I don't know if I could make it work here? What were your feelings?
Completely foreign to me. Yeah, definitely. At the beginning, I was sort of, I guess, I saw Germany through rose-colored glasses in a way. Everything was new and exciting and wonderful and just, and then I think reality hit. I don't know how far into it, maybe a good 4 months, maybe. It was just like, boom, hit me like a ton of bricks. Right. Just the whole German mentality I struggled with a lot. Mm-hmm. In New Zealand, I think New Zealanders, we are very, very open, very, very friendly, to the point where sometimes it can, to people from other cultures, it could come across as fake, maybe. Right. Everything has to be great. Everything's like, wow, this is amazing. This is great. We sugarcoat everything. And Rob struggled with that, like in reverse. But yes, I struggled with that. Like the hospitality, just everything. I took it quite personally because I would smile at somebody on the street and they would blatantly just frown at me or just look at me like I was crazy. And that's just what I've grown up doing, you know. It's the New Zealand way. And I just didn't feel like I fitted in at all in Germany. And at the beginning, I thought, I don't think Germans are really that, I don't know, I didn't particularly like Germans, to be quite frank. Yeah. But then I later realised that Germans are just as lovely and warm and open as New Zealanders are. It just takes a while to kind of break through that barrier. Yeah. So they have kind of like a front, if you know what I mean.
I know exactly what you mean because I struggled with that, and I know a lot of my guests have struggled with exactly that. It's beyond
a common theme, isn't it?
Yeah, it's beyond a stereotype. It really is something, especially in Franconia. I think it's a special case in Franconia where, but I've heard about it from all over Germany as well. It's just that there's a big difference, and the South African culture is the same. We're always smiling. We're always friendly.
I know a lot of South Africans in New Zealand, and they're just like Kiwis.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that change to Germany is a really big thing because they're also analyzing everything that you say, which is, for me, I'm used to making throwaway comments. I will just make a stupid comment or a joke that is not even meant to mean anything. You just throw it out there and you move on with your life. And then the Germans will latch onto that and question it within an inch of its meaning.
Oh, exactly.
So, it's a common theme.
I have a lot of expat friends here, and we all have had the same experience, and some more than others. Like I have friends from the UK. Maybe it wasn't as big a culture shock for them because maybe I feel like their culture in some ways is a bit more reserved, a bit closer to the German. I don't know, but for me as a Kiwi, it's
tough.
It's tough. Oh yeah. Well, it was.
So what do you think? What do you think got you through that? Because you said that the Germans are just as lovely and warm and welcoming in their own way.
When you get to know them, when you break through that shell, it took me a long time. It definitely took a long time. I think I went through a stage of actually feeling quite like I can't do this anymore. Like I can't. Yeah. This is not me. I just missed everything about New Zealand, just everything, the people, the food, the culture, just everything. And what got me through it was knowing that Rob and I would have to separate if I left. So I was kind of forced to sort of to just get through it. And I think when I started to really enjoy life in Germany was when I went to German language school. So basically, just because I was married to a German citizen did not automatically mean that I could stay in Germany. I had to do a 6-month intensive integration, not just a language course, but an integration course, which was every day I had to go to these classes. And I actually met a whole lot of foreigners, you could say, living in Germany. And I made friends and I started learning German. Okay. And so even then, I still wasn't really mixing with Germans. Some of Rob's friends, they were great. But it was, I started enjoying it more when I started to meet people. Yeah. And it took me a long time to make actual German friends. But I just started feeling happier and more open, and when I started learning the language and started integrating a little bit more in that way.
Right. And it's important. We found this as well, my wife and I, in the early days, to have those other expat friends because they're going through the same things that you are going through. And it still gives you that feeling of a connection then that you're not necessarily getting from the Germans. Absolutely.
I know a lot of people say that you shouldn't concentrate so much on the expat friends, but they were so important to me in that time and still are.
Yeah, it's it is a tricky line to walk because you don't want to get trapped in that bubble. But I think as well as in your case, you do have access to the German culture. You do have a connection to Germany because you're married to a German essentially. So that's at least that side of things.
Yeah. And I think even more so now, this is kind of skipping forward a lot. I am much more integrated now than I was back then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How long do you think it took you to feel comfortable? Like you said when you started meeting those people and going to German school, how long did that take you?
Yeah, I think it took me a good couple of years, and I think I realized that Germany it had really grown on me when I went back to New Zealand, maybe for the second time. I think I'd been back a couple of times in a few years to New Zealand just for a holiday. And I realized that I was experiencing reverse culture shock when I was in New Zealand, and there were things that started to annoy me, just little quirks and just little things about New Zealand. I was like, why do they have to be so fake? Or why do they just get to the point? And just little things like that. And I was missing Germany, and I was actually really looking forward to going back to Germany.
It's amazing when you have that feeling of that's home now. I'm where my previous home was now, but I'm wanting to go back to Germany, and it's feeling like going home.
Yeah, it was quite a comforting feeling, actually, to be honest.
Yeah,
it was really reassuring for me, and it was a really weird realization, actually.
Mm-hmm. And how is your German? Would you say, are you pretty fluent now?
That's always a tough question, because you don't want to. I've still got a long way to go, but my German is okay. Like it's not bad at all. Yeah. And I hear it every day. My children are speaking German with my husband constantly. I'm, interacting with people in German every single day, and I've made German friends. And still, I would say, of course, English is my language. Yeah. But it hasn't been easy for me learning German. It didn't come naturally to me at all. I've had to really work at it. But I don't know. You'd have to, I guess, ask my husband that, because I feel weird answering it. I don't know.
You mentioned your children. So you said at the beginning that you got 2 children and you've got a third one on the way. Congratulations.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
So you mentioned that they are talking German. So how have you handled that? They were all born in Germany, obviously.
Yes, yeah.
And how does that bilingualism thing work?
We're raising our children using the one parent, one language method, which is basically my husband speaks his mother tongue, German. His first language was Polish, but he's lived in Germany since he was a child. So Germany has become his mother tongue. He thinks, he reads, it's just German. And I just speak to them in English, and I always have. And that made complete sense at the beginning, because Amelia's coming up 8. And so my level of German was not good at all when she was born. Yeah. And it just was the most natural thing for us to do that. And I'm pleased we did it, because I always communicate with my children in English, always have, always will. I know a lot of people try and say to me that when they start school and when they get older, they won't want to speak to me in English, but I can't imagine it. Okay. I can't imagine it at all. Yeah. And they're doing really well with both languages. I would say my little boy, who's 4, English would probably be his stronger language. I had been at home with the kids, I've been a stay-at-home mum, so he's had a lot of English input from me and from friends of mine. And Amelia, I'm not saying her English isn't good, but I think German would be the language she probably dreams in. Right. I think German would be her slightly stronger language, because she's at school, and I think she gets a lot more German input. But still, I think her English is great. Yeah.
Is there anything that you would do differently with number 3?
No.
Okay.
I'm happy with how things have worked out.
Okay.
So probably not. Yeah. I'm just noticing Amelia gravitating a little bit more towards German, but I think that's only natural. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, I think so too.
So, it'll be interesting with the third, because all children are so different anyway. So, yeah.
So you said, Amelia, she's 8 years old. That means you were still very fresh in Germany when you had your first child. What was that like?
It was great. I have great memories of that time. That's another story altogether, which I did make a YouTube video on that. Mm-hmm. But it was an interesting time, because my husband was going through a career change. And so we were just dirt broke. Like, we had no money at the time. He was originally a mechatronica, so he was an electrical mechanic, and he was working for a yacht company and working with fiberglass and just not enjoying it. Wasn't very well paid. And he decided that he wanted to get into winemaking and viticulture.
Oh.
And so, yeah, and that's what he did in Ausbildung. Like, he didn't go to university, but he did a full-time Ausbildung. And yeah, so he basically went from working full-time in a full-time job. I was a stay-at-home mum at the time, and went to doing this Ausbildung where you get paid nothing. It's absolutely ridiculous how much. I just can't believe that we got through those years on the amount of money that he was getting. And he started a little business, delivering fresh bread in the mornings to people's homes to get a little bit of extra money. And we were struggling a lot, and it went on for, was it 3 years or something? But anyway, it was fun. It was great times. Like, we were poor, but we were happy. It was great. Had my in-laws living close by. My mum came to visit and had Amelia in the little baby carrier with me everywhere, and just simple, great times. Yeah.
Yeah, those times end up feeling like somewhat of an adventure. Sometimes when you're going through those difficult, whether it's financial stages or something, it can be pretty challenging at the time, but at the same time, it's a great adventure, especially when you come out and look back on it afterwards.
In hindsight, for sure. I don't know if I would have been speaking so positively about it at the time, but now we're sort of out of that. I can sort of joke about it, and but yeah, definitely, like you said, it's at the time maybe not so great. There were a lot of struggles being a new mum. I struggled more actually when the second child came along.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I found the jump from 1 to 2 quite challenging. Yeah.
Okay. You have just also now built a house in Germany. So I've got
yes.
I saw a video where you showed the interior. It looks beautiful. It's an absolutely beautiful house. So
thank you.
I have several questions for you, because first of all, you decided to build a house. First of all, what were your reasons, if you don't mind me asking?
I think it just sort of made sense for us, the amount of rent we were paying. It was yeah, I think in New Zealand we have more of most people own their own homes, and it's not so much of a thing here in Germany, actually.
No.
I think a lot less people own their own homes or build. But we just, I guess we decided that my husband worked it all out, and we worked out if we could save enough for a deposit, then it just made sense for us, because paying off the mortgage was less than the rent and that type of thing. So we thought, why not go for that? Yeah. We looked for years for something just to buy, and nothing was coming up. It's quite a tough market at the moment.
Yeah,
and
it's really tough.
You have to know a lot of people and word of mouth and that type of thing. And we just nothing came up for us. Mm-hmm. So we decided to build.
Yeah. So my question is, because I've heard from people that can be a stressful decision or a stressful time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say,
absolutely horrific. Absolutely horrific. I think we have a pretty good marriage, but that tested us. Mm-hmm. For sure. It's all good now. Oh yeah. It was rough.
So it was what was the things that make it rough? Is it that things are running late, or things start going above budget, or?
Well, I think the first thing was that our building company filed for bankruptcy.
Oh no.
So it took us months and months to plan. We had an architect planning everything out, and right before they were about to lay the foundation, they sent us an email saying, sorry, this company does not exist anymore. We filed for bankruptcy, nothing we could do. Mm-hmm. So we lost a bit of money. It was nothing dramatic, but we lost a lot of time. And also we were still paying rent in the house we were living in. And it was just, to be honest, it's first world problems. I think a lot of people are going through a lot more stressful things, but for us it was not nice. And so we had to start from from the beginning again and find another building company, which the second building company weren't that great either. You know, they make all these promises to you and say everything's going to be great, and it's all they're salesmen, you know what I mean? And so they basically are trying to get as many people on board as possible, so they've got enough work lined up for the next few years, and then once they've got you locked in, they just like do whatever they want with you. You know,
there's no chance.
Yeah, so it taught us patience for sure. And it was just very frustrating. And it took us probably 2 years from the time we bought the land until our house was up. So
wow.
Yeah,
that's a long time. But it must be a great feeling when you're finally in there and living in the house, and it's a beautiful house, and it's kind of
worth
worthwhile.
It now. Yeah, but my husband, he had to organize a lot because just sort of business German, it's not really German is not at that level. No. I just can't. There's so much, German paperwork, you know what it's like. Yeah. But when you're building a house, it's extreme. And my husband had all of that on his shoulders, working full time, and he got very stressed. It affected him, his health, and he's only just kind of coming right after it. It was it was a shock to the system.
Yeah, I can imagine. It is. We also bought a house, and just that aspect was difficult enough, like figuring out how the contracts work, how the different fees work. Awesome. It's just, but it's nothing. It's a drop in the ocean to what you guys have gone through and building. And that's also, we briefly considered as well, but with us being two non-Germans, we just decided, like you said, my business German is not at that level.
Good call.
This is kind of cynical and dark, but somebody gave us the advice that you can get these houses that couples have built for cheap because during the process they ended up getting divorced and they need to get rid of the house.
I'm not surprised.
It is a terrible thing, but you can get budget houses.
Not surprised. And do you know what? Sometimes it runs beautifully. Mm-hmm. And we just had bad luck, I think.
Yeah. So now you are a YouTuber. Antoinette Emily is the name of your YouTube channel, and it has grown over time. I think the last time I looked, there was something like 50,000 or 55,000 subscribers. I'm not sure where.
I think it's around 55,000 subscribers. It's grown. It hasn't grown super quickly, but it's steadily growing. Yeah. Over the years.
Yeah. So. Why did you start the channel in the first place? And at what point did you start it in your time?
That also was kind of something that happened accidentally in a way. When Amelia was around, I think she would have been was she 4? I just had always loved YouTube. I was just somebody that watched YouTube, and I started my channel as something completely different to what it is now, what it has developed into. Right. I started it out as a kids art and craft channel because of my arty background. Yeah. I thought, I'm an art teacher and I was a stay-at-home mum, and I thought I could kind of combine that. And I did little tutorials, like kids art and craft tutorials, and they were really cool. Like I had fun doing it, but they weren't getting a lot of views. I put in a lot of work. Yeah. And then one day I made a video talking about weird things that they do in Germany. Randomly, I just thought I'm just going to try something different because I'm putting so much effort into these videos and I'm getting like 50 views or something like that. And it just didn't seem worth it. I was just doing it as a hobby. And this video kind of took off. I think I got 20,000 views in the first week. Wow. And the views just kept going up. And it was basically me talking about things that I found a little bit unusual when I first came to Germany as a New Zealander. And people seemed to really enjoy it. Yeah. And I noticed that a lot of Germans were watching and commenting, and they were really cool about it. Like they were laughing with me, and I had some that were like, just didn't approve of course, saying anything negative about Germany. But I did it in a light-hearted sort of fun way. I don't think it was very offensive. And then I thought, wow, this is great. My channel wasn't even monetized at the time. And then I decided to just keep going with the German theme. So I think I did like the expat tag, which was going around for expats. And I kept getting quite good views on these types of videos. And I realized there's like a bit of an audience for this. And it just happened from alone, out of nowhere. And my channel started to slowly grow. And then I monetized my channel and I started getting a little bit of ad revenue and just kept going with it. So it just it happened out of nowhere really. And I enjoyed making the videos because I think when I first came to Germany, I was like so desperately trying to look for people that I could relate to, that were also expats and that I could connect with. And it was really hard to find people online. There was not really any YouTubers doing that kind of thing. And so I just talk about all the joys and the frustrations of life in Germany, and Germans like to listen to it and like to learn a little bit about their culture through my videos. And then there was expats who could relate to my experiences. So, yeah. And I didn't even know that there were YouTubers that did this until when you start making this type of content, you get recommended other videos. Yeah. And so it's put me in touch with some, like Haley Alexis. I don't know if you watch her videos.
I do, yeah.
We became friends through that. And,
I saw you went to the Oktoberfest together.
We did, yeah. And she's just so cool. Yeah. She's a very lovely person in real life. Like, I'm not saying she's not in her videos, but she's very down to earth. Mm-hmm. So yeah, then I discovered a lot of people are doing this, and there's like expats in Italy and Spain, and there's a lot of people out there doing this kind of thing too.
Yeah, so that's pretty good. So you'd say that it's changed your life making these videos because you're still doing it after all these years.
I'm still doing it, yeah. I think when I hit about 11,000 subscribers, I had companies that started reaching out to me, which was crazy. And then, it just continued, and I was able to get one or two sponsorships a month, and you get a little bit of ad revenue. You know, it's nothing to make you rich or anything, but it allowed me to be able to earn a little bit of an income.
Yeah, and keep doing it, of course.
And keep doing it, and it's fun. I really enjoy it.
So you mentioned that way back you studied arts and graphic design, I think you said, and then you started your channel initially as some kind of arts and crafts thing for kids. So obviously you were looking, like you said, for connection to people, but I guess you were also looking for an expression of your creativity or that artistic side of yourself. And have you found that?
Yeah, I did. It's in some way I'm not the greatest video editor or anything like that, but it's something I'd like to explore and get more into. And I find I like telling stories, and I like I really enjoy it. It is definitely a creative outlet in a way for me.
Yeah. So that is Antoinette Emily, and people can find, I'll put it in the link in the show notes for the 3 people who don't know who you are or what your channel is.
Oh, come on. There's a lot of people that don't know.
So at the end of my interviews, I usually ask my guests, what is the one bit of advice, the biggest bit of advice that you can give to foreigners who are looking at coming to Germany?
Be open to the language, be open to the culture. And I have a feeling that Germany may just grow on you.
Yeah, it does grow on you.
It does, yeah. Well, did you find that as well?
Yeah. Almost exactly how you described it. There was the honeymoon phase where you get here and everything's amazing and everything's fantastic and it's still new and it's an adventure. And then after about 4 to 5 months or 6 months, you hit that brick wall where you think, what's wrong with these people? Like what is wrong? Why are they so analytical? Why are they so unfriendly? Why are they so cold? And then I think for you, I can imagine coming in winter is particularly challenging, because as nice as winter could be for someone who hadn't experienced it, like for us as well, like in South Africa, we don't have much of that kind of winter. But it's also a very dull, gray, drab time, and it kind of adds to that feeling of isolation and depression.
I think once the Christmas markets are over,
yes,
then that's when it really kicks in. You know,
February is always a nightmare.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, winter drags on a lot. Yeah, I struggled with the winters, I have to say that. The summers are beautiful. The in-between seasons are beautiful here.
Yeah. Something I wanted to ask you earlier, but I didn't get to it. When we're recording this interview now, it's currently lockdown light and there's a whole coronavirus situation going on. You mentioned earlier on that your mom I think you said your mom would come and visit you quite regularly, quite often. Has this impacted her travels to Germany? Have you?
Yes, definitely.
So it's been a while since you've seen family?
I haven't, it's been a year since I saw my mum. So before all of this madness happened, she was here she saw the house getting put up, our house, but it was like well over a year ago, actually. But she was planning on coming back when the baby was born, and I just don't know if it's going to happen because in New Zealand, they have very, very strict quarantine rules where you have to isolate in hotels for weeks, and it's very, very expensive on top of the expensive plane ticket. And I don't know when things are going to get back to normal. I guess it's so many people are in a similar situation. Yeah. So I need to focus on the positives. Otherwise, drives me crazy. I'll just lose the plot.
It is hard.
Yeah,
it is hard. My daughter is 1 year old, and my dad in South Africa still hasn't met her yet, and that's heartbreaking because it wouldn't be so heartbreaking if I knew, okay, March next year we'll be traveling, so it's something to look forward to. But at this point, you just don't know, like, how long is my dad not going to see his other grandchildren and also not meet his youngest grandchild? It's just it's absolutely heartbreaking.
It's really heartbreaking. Yeah, I think that's something that as expats it gets us through, knowing the next time we're going to see, making plans to visit our country, or knowing that somebody's going to come and visit us, and that kind of having those little things to be excited about gets you through it, and not it's the unknown, and it's really tough. Also, something that helps me is knowing there's other expats going through exactly the same thing, like yourself.
Yes, it's important really to connect with those people and talk to them about that as well, because it's very
exactly
similar.
That's why you have to have expat friends.
Have expat friends. That's also some advice.
Absolutely, don't listen to anyone that says otherwise.
Yes, exactly. I agree. I'm 100% on board with that. 100% on board. Antoinette, I think we'll wrap it up there and finish up. I want to thank you again for taking the time out of your schedule to come on the podcast.
Thank you so much for taking your time to interview me, and it was great.
Thank you for listening. Back next week with a new episode. And, of course, as always, music in this episode by my band 10 Cent Janes. Additional music by Ryan Anderson. Until the end, stay healthy out there. Auf Wiederhören.